Perfect.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning over there in Finland. My name is Juan Bautista Propato. I work for Football West. I'm a PE teacher, have a high performance degree and master. And I've been coaching football for more than 20 years in different countries, New Zealand, Germany, and hometown of Argentina. Today, we have the great pleasure to talk to Mike. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well, Juan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your time, much appreciated. So tell me a little about yourself, Mike.
Well, I'm here in Helsinki, Finland. I'm originally from America. Been involved with football as a player from youth ages, and I've been coaching over 25 years. I've worked in USA, Scotland, Slovakia, Finland, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand. So I've traveled a lot with the game. I currently have a UEFA Pro license and been working on continuing to learn and grow as a coach throughout my career.
Nice. So I know it will be hard, but we will try. So if you need to take a learning from each country over your coaching career, what will be?
Well, I think one of the big things that for me is I like to try to learn about the culture in each country and take away from that and then use that as part of my coaching. You know, each country has a little bit different characteristic, a little bit different way of working, a little bit different way of the socially, how that stuff goes. So like for an example, in America, I think people are a little bit more cavalier, a little bit more competitive. And so you're able to use that in your coaching. There's ways to motivate players and to get players sometimes to work harder because you know that they're very much built into the competition. Whereas like here in Finland and also so much in Slovakia it's a little bit more tactical. The players like to think about the game. They're a little bit more want to know the reasons of why and how and you know, why are we doing these sorts of things? And so as a coach, you know that you have to explain it a little bit more. You have to have a little bit more detail. You have to be able to justify your answers when they ask questions. And for me, I knew that going into it. When I worked like in P&G, it was a lot more players were on the developmental side. So they were like sponges. They really wanted to learn and take information in. Mm-hmm. So you knew that you might be getting a lot of questions on stuff that might be a little bit more basic elsewhere. So again, for me, being able to respect the culture, understand how where they are in the development scale and why, and then being able to work with that. You know, some of the questions I would get from players in P&G, I would never get anywhere in the world except in P&G. You know, vice versa. You know, in America, a lot of the players were very keen on, hey, when are we going to play? When are we going to get into the games? How are we going to do that? Not so much the tactic, not so much the technique, but they wanted to play. So you knew you were going to have to deal with that. So for me, that was one of the big things, is learn a bit about the cultures that you're dealing with.
And looking back, do you think that sometimes maybe you make mistakes because you didn't really understand the way they think, or you think you always well prepared when you went to a new country, a new culture, and like everything was different the way they operate?
No, a lot of mistakes along the way, and that's you take that away and learn from it. That to me is the most important thing. There's a lot you can read, you can watch, you can see stuff, but until you're actually hands-on and doing it, you know, that's when you learn and get the experience. And there are going to be errors, there are going to be mistakes, and the big thing is learn from it and don't replicate it in the future. You know, and that's happened to me throughout my career. I mean, just as we talked about the culture, the society, the types of players. I mean, you go from Finland in the Nordic down to New Zealand or P&G, it's very different, you know, and you can't be prepared until you're actually there. you know, and once you're there, then you have to be on, be sharp and recognize what's working, what's not working, what can I adjust, how can I adjust it, and get the outcomes that I'm looking for. And so being able to recognize that you made a mistake or you made an error and then correct it, that's a huge asset as a coach.
And how do you recognize if you make a mistake? What are your tips, or your team around you will tell you? You look at the players' expression.
Well, I think a couple things. Like for me, I work a lot with, the men's professional team and the first team. So there, I think it's a little bit more obvious because it's usually built about getting results and winning. And so usually when there's errors made, it's quite big, or it's easy to see. I think sometimes when you're in a more of a long-term development project with younger kids or different types of players, it may be a little bit harder to see because your result might not be coming for a year or two. So again, that's sometimes a little bit more difficult. But for me, I've had a good coaching staff around me. I have good players inside the team. And at the end of the day, I've been doing this a lot of years. It's easy to see when something's not working. If the connection between players is not working, the system's not working, the players might be overloaded with training. The work might be too much. Again, we use a lot of the GPS monitoring and the data, and we get that sort of information back as well. So being able to take all those factors in and say, okay, is this working at our best? And if not, how do we correct it? So it's a bit of work, but I think in order to be successful, you have to do those things. You have to take a look at yourself and the players and really reflect on how things are going.
Yes, and if you think about the coaching's license from CBA, and you're doing the pro license, one of the tasks or things to do on the license is about yourself, isn't it? And watching your session, what you're doing, your interventions, how long are you talking to the players, what are you saying to the players, and like you say, the more you do it, you get better and better and better.
Yeah, one of the things that is becoming more and more easy to do is when you're running training is having a camera or having something to actually watch your training and see how you coach. It's one thing to get feedback from people, but the other part is also if you can actually see yourself working, it gives a different perspective. And one of the things I said quite early in my coaching career, I was working with a group of colleagues who I would say are now good friends, and we always challenged each other, not in a negative way, but in a way that, was like constructive criticism. And at the end of the day, they told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. And it's a big difference. And it was a way in which I would go watch their training, and if I saw something, I said, hey, did you think about doing this exercise this way? Or did you think about this factor? And they would do the same to me. And so it became a point where I enjoyed getting feedback. I enjoyed getting the constructive criticism because it made me actually have to look at my training and had me look at how I was working, and then I could adjust it. Too often people take criticism as a negative. You have to listen. You have to see what's going on. Get feedback from your players. Listen to how they feel. And you as a coach have to be strong enough to say, okay, maybe I am doing things that I could do better. In my sessions, maybe I'm stopping too much, or maybe I'm not stopping enough, or maybe I'm talking too long, or maybe instead of stopping the exercise, maybe I could just walk by the player and speak to him instead of stopping so everybody, has to stop. So again, it's being able to have the insight to say, hey, how am I doing my job, and what can I do to make it better?
Yeah, and I guess many of those things too is with experience, and that feeling about, like you say, about training. Are we train too much? Is this guy ready to play? Start on the starting 11? is he going to be on the bench, or the best player is having a bad week, and you go and have a chat, are you all right, mate, or whatever, and then sometimes you could see players changing and then performing or not changing, and then you might need to have that conversation of, so you need to be on the bench and give the chance to someone else, and then almost do an evaluation of that player, how mentally is prepared to be dropped on the bench and perform when you need him to perform or her to perform.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, the level of communication is the most important part, especially when you're dealing, with senior players or even the younger players. But I think very much, as long as the players understand where they are inside the squad and where they are in your plans, and even if they don't agree with it, at least they know. The worst for a player is not knowing. And in all my dealings, nobody wants to be told that they're on the bench, but they rather be told this is why they're on the bench so that they can work on things to get better. If you don't say anything to them, they're not going to know why. And they might start focusing on the wrong areas to try to improve when you're looking for something more specific. So that's why I say being able to have a good line of communication and being able to speak to the players openly and honestly, it's so valuable.
Talking about coaching and coaching license, I think we met in 2013 at the Oceania C license in Auckland. And then later on, I think last year or the year before, you did the pro license. So how was, if you need to take 3 key elements from doing that C license to the A license, what are the 3 key learnings that you have in that journey from C, B, A, and pro?
Yeah, well, like for example, when we were at the C license, I was one of the instructors, and so it was very interesting to see how the game in Oceania develops compared to elsewhere. Like for me, I did all levels of the UEFA licensing here in Europe, but I've also done the stuff in America with the USSF, and then in Oceania, I was one of the instructors. So while the game is similar, the teaching methods and how to take stuff on board is a little bit different. For me, I could say of all the places I've done stuff, I really enjoyed doing it here in Finland and with UEFA when I was a student. Is one of the programs that they have here, which I really liked, is you have a mentor. So like for the A license and the pro license, you have the courses run over 12 to 16 months, and during the different periods, you're working in small groups, you're meeting with the entire course, you're traveling to other events, and then you're also doing training in your home location. And throughout the year, you have one person who is mentoring you. So they'll come and watch your training, they'll come and watch you during the matches. You work in small groups with this one person. And I was quite fortunate because I had Marco Cannavaro, who is now the men's national team coach here in Finland. I had him for both the A license and the pro license. So it's quite good. Is even now, I mean, I'm still in contact with him regularly. And, if my team has a good match, next thing you know, I get a text message saying, hey, congrats, well played. And, it's stuff like that. When Finland qualified for the Euros, I sent him a message, hey, well done. And being in such a small country, those connections are really good. In America, when I did my licensing, now this is 25 years ago, 30 years ago, the system was a little bit different. It was a lot of the instructors would run a coaching course, and then the candidates had to replicate that, and then they would get feedback. It wasn't the best system, and I'm happy to say that the U.S. Soccer Federation has completely changed the education now. So it's good. It's more connected to like what they're doing in UEFA. But it was one of those things that back then you didn't get much feedback. It was just judged on what you already knew. And for me, I think the way forward is watching coaches work, giving them information, giving them feedback on how they're doing and what they could do better, and see if they can take that feedback and adjust their training sessions. To me, that's a better way of doing the education. And as you saw, like when we were in OFC doing the C license, we did a lot more of that. Coaches were coaching, and then we would try to give them feedback. We would try to help them and say, hey, look at these points. What about your body position when you're coaching? What about your voice? What about your stoppage? When you are stopping, are you stopping it at a key point? And those sort of things are getting more universal. Like the way of teaching is starting to be a little bit more connected around the globe. I can say that for sure.
Yeah, I guess it's all about that player-centered coaching approach, asking question, guide discovery, and it's players finding the solution themselves rather than you come up with a solution. And I know I saw that many years ago, a coach said to the player, "Oh, you should be doing this," and the player said, "No, I have a play here and there, so I think the best option could be there." And then the coach you could see, and then you were wrong. The player was right. But because you are telling the player what to do, because you think something, he say, no, that was right, I did this for this reason. So if for that player in that moment was the right decision, might be a reason why, and it wasn't the best decision, can you help that player to find a better solution? Or what else can you do?
Yeah. And again, as a coach, you have to have feedback. You have to listen to your players as well, and if you, the way I look at it, and maybe it's different than others, I like to give players more than one option, and say, hey, when you have the ball or when you're in this position, what do you see? Well, I see option A, option B, option C. Okay, which do you think is the best? And they would say whatever one. And well, why? And then you get the feedback from them. But you say, okay, what about option B? Do you see this? Do you see this other option? And if you can open up their eyes to it, you let them make the choice. You can't joystick somebody and control them. It's not PlayStation. But the idea is, if you can at least have them have enough, I don't say education, but enough information to make the decision on the fly in the match, what's going to be the best option. And as long as we can train them to be able to at least acknowledge there's more than one option, then they're going to get better over time. If they're just going to get the ball and do option A all the time, then it's very easy to play against that player when you're in opposition, because they're going to always get it and do the same thing. At least if when the player gets the ball, they can understand there's option A, there's option B, there's option C, and this is the strengths and this is the weaknesses of those options. So that's coaching.
And as the competition get higher and higher, and then you got more quality players, and if your players can only do A and B, and the other team will be unpredictable, especially going forward, will be really hard. And if your team is predictable, then it will be hard for you to score because they will study your game, how you move, how you run, whatever, and then that's it, isn't it? So, and also players, I think, enjoy them freedom and they show themselves, isn't it? Like playing with the ball, playing football. That's why they are there, not like you say they are a PlayStation. So if we think now about Finland, I never been to Finland, for example. How is now we are a normal week, but how is normally a week of training? What do you do during the week with your players?
Well, usually if the setup is, if we say like Saturday to Saturday, okay, and we have a match on Saturday, Sunday we would come in and have recovery training, and the guys who played 60 minutes or more would do one set of recovering, and the guys who played 30 minutes or less would do a little bit harder session, so that we try to keep the fitness and the loads on the same level. Usually the second day after the match is a day off for the players to be completely recovered on their own. And that would bring us to Sunday recovery, Monday day off, Tuesday is training. So like on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, our sessions tend to be a little bit more set up. Like on Tuesday, we usually do 2 trainings. One of them being like a physical training, usually maintenance with the weight training or some sort of physical work with our fitness coaches. And for us, that first day back, while it's not the hardest session, but we try to get the players moving, get them sharp, get them ready for the week ahead. The second training of the week, this is where we go a little bit harder. the tempo of the game becomes a little bit higher. The idea is to keep the stamina up, to keep the fitness up. And then as we taper down towards the rest of the week, this is when we might implement a little bit more of the tactical setup of the next opponent and prepare for them there. And then on Friday, the day before the match, we go over more specific details, set pieces, more finer points of the game. And then Saturday would be the match again. In that week, I didn't really talk about the video preparations. Like, for example, we give the players, like, on Sunday after the match, we have the highlights and edits from the match that we just played. On Tuesday, when we come in, we have the video of the general video of the opponent.
So how much on Sunday, how much do you watch a full game, or do you just watch highlights, clips?
We just take small clips because, again, the idea for the players, they put 90 minutes in. We just want to show them just a few key points. We're in there less than 15 minutes just to go through things. And it's more about recovering the body that day. All the players get a copy of the full 90-minute game so that they can watch on their own at home. But the idea is, if there was some things that worked really well, if there's some things that didn't work at all, or if there was any errors or anything special, we usually edit in there. And we try to keep it around 15 minutes or less. So the idea with that is just for them to see what happened and then get outside and get working on their body. But like I said, when we come in on Tuesday, this is a little bit longer meeting. This is where we could kind of go over the opponent, what their strengths, what their weaknesses, the key players, this sort of stuff. And then usually later in the week on Thursday, we'll give individual clips to players. So, like, for example, our right winger will match up with their left back, and we'll give him the clips on the left back. What is his tendencies? What is his way of play? What are some things that we need to look for? So we try to get those sort of matchups. So it becomes a little bit easier for the players through the week. We don't want to give them too much information too soon because it could be overload. So we try to, I say stagger it, but we try to give a little bit throughout the week.
With the session structure, do you do like a passing practice, positioning game training game, or do you change it into a rondo, small side games? How do you structure your sessions?
Well, the way we usually do it, and again, just this is really general because it's never always the same, but like in the beginning, our fitness coach takes the warm up, and that's usually between 20 and 30 minutes. He does some sort of, physical movement, but then many times he'll include the ball. And so in the different exercises, it might be some sort of passing. And after the passing, you're doing some sort of movement through cones or through sticks or over hurdles. And then usually from there, the players come to us and they're warm and ready to go. From there, we usually put them either into a passing exercise or some sort of rondo, like small-sided, just to sharpen the skills and get going from there. After that, we usually move into a bigger game. I know I'd say like a larger position game or a larger possession game, and some sort of activity like that. Then we go to the meat of the session. So it's usually that first 45 minutes is worked on getting the body up and ready, getting the skills ready. And usually the next 45 minutes to hour is focused on specific needs of the team. It may be tactical training. It may be position-specific training. It may be split where, for example, I may take the back four goalkeepers and some of the midfielders, and we're working on how we open the game. And the other coaches might take the strikers and some of the goalkeepers and work on finishing. And then we bring everybody together at the end and we put it in action, in live action. And again, when you have a good coaching staff and you have people around that you trust and work with, it's really easy to do stuff like that. Many times we'll do specific training activities for sets of players. We want to work on say, for example, I'll take the wingers, the strikers, and we'll work on, one against that, one out wide, and then crossing into the box, and the strikers finishing. On the other side, one of the other coaches will be taking the back four and the midfielders on how to prevent, guys getting crosses in the box and how to, win the ball in the box from crosses. And then the last 20 minutes, we bring them together to play against each other. So we try to complement each other on how we're going to work. And then from there, after we do that sort of training, then we'll put it into a game where there's actually a transition. If you win the ball, can we play forward? If we lose the ball, how do we defend? And we try to use what we've just worked on in a match-like setting.
And will your training will change a little bit regarding your position? For example, if you play a team that over the last 4 or 5 weekends they concede out of 10 goals, 6 of set pieces. So you say, I want to score on set piece, and then maybe they are weak on the defending transition. So you want to quickly break into attacking transition in the middle third, in the middle channel. Will be something like that, or like I know other coaches that say, no, I train, this is my philosophy, this is how we play, and regardless of the position, we are going to train in a similar way, changing how the players are feeling, but we always follow what is my coaching philosophy and my principles.
Yeah, that's actually a great question, Juan. Everybody is different. And so, like I said, I respect what everybody does. But for me personally, I always like to adjust my game plan according to the opponent, according to the situation. For me, it's about getting a result. And we have a long preseason here in Finland. It's nearly 3 months. It's close to 100 days. So during that period, it's very easy to lay down your philosophy and lay down your basic setup of how you want to play in the fundamentals. And then when we get into the season, that's when we have to make the adjustments for the opponent, specifically for the opponent, because it's about getting a result. Now, I understand the way of saying, hey, I'm going to work the way I'm going to work. I think sometimes this is a little bit better in youth development, because in youth development, you focus on improving the player. The results aren't the most important part when you're 12, 13, 14, but developing the player is. When you go to senior football, where it's about wins and losses, if I lose 5, 7 matches in a row, but tell the owner of the club or the board of directors, no, but we're developing. They're like, yeah, hey, you're out. I need somebody to get results. And so again, during the season, I have to focus on winning matches. When I've worked in youth, the matches, the results were not a factor at all. It was very much on, are the players getting better? What can we do to improve them? Whereas here with the first team, with the professional team, we have to win. And it's, as you know, it's about winning trophies and getting into the big competitions. And, that's the target.
And you want to stay where you are as well. Like you say, you lost from the last game, 5 games and get a draw, then you need to keep yourself on the shop, isn't it? So 2 more questions. The next one is about how awesome apparently are your football fans over there. Apparently they are really loud and supporting your club everywhere.
Yeah, well, the group that supports us is called Stadi Kinget. It means like the Stadi is like the slang for Helsinki, which is the capital, and king is the king. So it's like the capital king, and the other club in town is HJK, and that's our rival. And if anybody's interested to take a look, if you just type in HIFK versus HJK, they'll show the fans. I mean, the stadium is packed. There's the flares. There's the pyrotechnics. There's all the singing, and it's a great atmosphere. Technically, 2 days ago is when we were supposed to play the derby match, but with this coronavirus situation, we're not doing anything. But the fans, I've been in Finland over 10 years, nearly 12 years, and there's no fans like it, and it's part of the reason that when I chose to come to this club was knowing that, this is the environment that you're going to be coaching on the weekends, on match day. Here you are with thousands of people singing your name and singing the club, and it's very, the players and the supporters are really connected here, which is a really good feeling. And so that's also one of the great parts of working here is, you know, whatever you do, they're watching. So when it's good, trust me, everybody loves you. You're the king. They tap you on the back. Hey, great job. But the minute you do something wrong or you don't win or you don't get the result, oh, they're not afraid to tell you, and they'll tell you what you should have done. So that's the part, is you got to be prepared for that.
What is your nickname with the fans?
No, well, to be quite honest, here it's actually, you know, everything's gone well with the fans. We haven't started the season yet, so I only came here in you know, this past year, so we've only had a few of the cup matches. So everybody still calls me, you know, coach or Mike or Gaffer or something like that. But you know, it's one of those things that over time, you know, as the relationship grows and develops, it would be good. And again, for me, it's being part of this club. I mean, the club history is over, you know, well over 120 years old. So there's been a lot of people who have come here and over the years and have done well. So for me to be a small part of that history is you know, a real big honor.
Oh, awesome. So the last question is about what advice will you give to players and coaches that they want to be professional or earn a living from football?
Yeah. Well, the biggest one is, I'd say, determination. And what do I mean by that is, you know, you have to have self-confidence, because along the journey, there's going to be a lot of times where people are going to say, hey, you're not good enough. You don't have the skill. You don't have the quality that we're looking for. And if you listen to them and put your head down and give up, you're never going to make it. You have to have the determination to say, hey, I am good enough. You're making a mistake. And then you go to the next place and show your ability. And that's one of the things that all the players that I've worked with that have gone on to do really well, that's a quality that they've all shared, is that it didn't matter the negativity. They learn from it. They grow, they improve, but they don't believe the person. You know, they don't believe hearing that I'm not good enough, because their self-belief, their confidence, their determination is saying, yes, I am. I'm going to make it. You know, and if you know, if you buy into that and listen to everybody that says you can't, there's, for every one that says you can, there's a million or more that say you can't. So you have to make sure that you yourself believe in yourself and believe in your ability, and you have the faith and the confidence to chase the dream. You know, if you get knocked down, if things don't go your way, you have to get up and keep going on the path. It's too easy to give up and go do something else, but to actually make it and go do it, it's something that you have to believe in 100% with every bit of your being. If you don't, if you have any doubt, it won't work, because there's too many times along the journey where you're going to get knocked down or told that you're not good enough. And it's with coaching and playing.
That's true, isn't it? At the end was this video was coaching, an inspirational video as well. Even before we were recording, we were talking about the challenge here in Australia, over there in Finland, back in USA, in Argentina, everywhere around the world. So, like you were saying about coaching and playing, that believe that everything will be normal soon, and we are going to be good. We shall need to hand there the rain on the storm, be able to dance and smile, and then everything will be fine sooner or later. We don't know yet, but we cannot control things that no one knew before. So was a really positive and empowering message to everyone. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, for sharing your coaching experience, knowledge, and belief with everyone else here in Australia. Yeah, I wish you all the best.
Anytime. Anytime, my friend. It's great to see you again, and I'm glad we were able to connect. You know, with this with what's going on with this pandemic, you know, it's while we're all stuck in our homes and doing other stuff, it's amazing. We're doing more connectivity with around the world. Here I am talking to you in Australia, and I'm in Finland. I mean, it's halfway around the world and discussing football, but discussing our passion, and it's something that it takes a global threat to bring everyone back together again. So hopefully next time we don't need that. You and I can just stay in contact in between.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great day over there in Finland. Take care, my friend.
Will do, Juan. Cheers. Take care.
Thank you. Much appreciated.